Assuming you're not 10 years old, it's kind of a given that Disney's live-action remakes are a bit of a cash grab. But to be fair, most have been pretty good, in some cases building a better film from a threadbare source, like Jon Favreau's Jungle Book, though others have lacked the creative spark to really stand apart from the original, like Jon Favreau's Lion King. More than a few of these remakes have provided the Mouse House an opportunity to right inherent wrongs with their dated source material. From the racism in Dumbo to the misogyny in Aladdin, most issues are easily corrected, and they need to be, considering how sensitive folks are these days. But then there's Mulan, which brings with it a whole new bag of problems. In case you don't know, it's set in China, and China apparently controls everything these days, even the NBA.
That's right, while Western audiences guffawed and chomped loudly on their popcorn, Mulan did not go down well with the Chinese, who it's said clap in unison, if allowed to clap at all. Officially, complaints centered around the story diverging from the classic myths of the East. Real dragons don't sound like Eddie Murphy apparently, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. The general public meanwhile complained the movie was too westernized and its heroine too selfish in her representation. It wouldn't be the only time Disney fell foul of the Chinese though, considering the fact Christopher Robin was banned because of this. Oh shit, they got us too. You can see the inherent pettiness of China's propaganda department when it comes to Western movies. But could Disney's latest tentpole live-action remake suffer the same fate? For the record, we were never the biggest fans of Mulan as kids. Aladdin and Simba were our jam, but it is a quality film with some banging tunes too. They made a man out of me alright. So what exactly is the problem here, and how do Disney navigate forwards?
Off the back of several successful female-led animations, the material presented in Mulan was ideal for Western audiences. A woman making it in a repressive, patriarchal environment was the perfect fodder, and considering the current Hollywood climate, the same is true today. While the Chinese government complained about the historical accuracy, bearing in mind this is based on a myth, the real reason they restricted the movie's release was because of a Disney-funded film called Kundun, a biopic of the Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama. We won't go into too much detail about Chinese-Tibetan relations here. Suffice to say that China wasn't keen on any kind of sympathetic view of Tibet. They also disliked the Dalai Lama and kidnapped his successor. Oh wait, I said I wouldn't go into Chinese-Tibetan relations. Anyway, by the time the Chinese government did allow Mulan to be released, it had already been widely pirated, meaning there was no need to cough up the price of admission.
As you're probably aware, Western movie releases, and almost everything else, are highly controlled in China, with a strict quota on the number of films allowed to be released each year. As such, Disney aren't strangers to tweaking their movies to counter Chinese censors, like the Ancient One being racially recast, because the original character is, you guessed it, Tibetan. Several Western studios have done the same, with some inserting or even outright removing specific scenes, characters, and subplots. Most do this because China's such a lucrative market. Hell, some Western movies are successful only because of the money they make in China. Anything with giant-sized robots, really. Or fish creatures. So Little Mermaid should go down well. At least Derek told me she does. It's the fish lips. Which brings us back to Disney's primary motive for remaking Mulan in the first place. Money. It's obviously money.
Despite past grievances, Disney currently has a great relationship with China. There's Shanghai's brand spanking new Disneyland, not to mention Lion King 2019's roaring success. China even had a big say in the recent purchase of Fox. Point is, Disney have a lot to lose by rubbing up the Chinese the wrong way, and there have already been criticisms of the new movie's historical inaccuracies, with specific reference to the architecture. Thing is, it's not the Chinese who stand to be most offended this time around. It's us Westerners. Surprise, surprise. That's right, Mulan is actually cooking up a stir because it's been so heavily altered to appease the Chinese. To be fair, it is their character. All those healthy selling points that originally wowed the West, the songs, the comedy, the lightheartedness, are seemingly missing from the 2020 version, and while we're all for a remake that diverges from the original, as long as the buildings are historically accurate, Disney has to find a balance to avoid alienating all those nostalgic 90s kids.
The first trailer for the new movie dropped back in July, and it's fair to say there ain't no dragons this time round. And though there are a number of callbacks to the 1998 movie, the live-action remake feels distinctly different, and not everyone's happy about that. Valid points, especially when you consider Mulan has actually already had its own Chinese-made live-action movie. The other happening that has Westerners up in arms is lead actress Liu Yifei seemingly showing her support for police brutality in the ongoing Hong Kong protests.
Finish him!
Factor in rumours that the new movie is undergoing significant reshoots, and it's possible Disney could be entering indecisive territory. Detractors have been very vocal about potential boycott, and while China undoubtedly represents a huge opportunity for the new movie, so does the Western market. Are we about to get completely separate versions for East and West? Whatever happens, it's unlikely the movie will flop. Just consider for a moment how all-powerful Disney is right now. Lion King 2019, for example, isn't universally loved, but the nostalgic pull, as well as a massive marketing campaign, was enough to boost it beyond the billion-dollar mark.
But Lion King is clearly a different beast. What with there being no real-life English-speaking wildcats to call BS on its plot points, which ironically it mostly stole from an Eastern source. Regardless, there's sure to be several nervous production meetings to attempt to package Mulan 2020 so that it appeals to the widest possible audience. Undoubtedly, everyone has an opinion these days, and while us Westerners will complain endlessly on Twitter, I know Doopy loves a good moan, it's unlikely the movie will be censored in the West, and a boycott's doubtful considering all those parents who need some Saturday night entertainment for their 10-year-olds. Right now, it looks like those strict Chinese censorship rules, as well as the desire to stay somewhat true to the real source material, are dictating how the movie pans out narratively. It might be the only way for Disney to remain credible in the East. In the West, however, all Disney needs to do is get audiences through the door. And considering they're about to launch their own streaming service with all the content, what's to stop them heavily promoting the new movie to their captive new audience?
Thanks for watching this video, people of China. If you enjoyed it, there's a lot more content just like it to check out on our channel. A like, comment, or sub is always appreciated. We've been the Doopy Bros. 再见!